Hey everyone, this is Mr. Moreno. I'm here for another lesson of adding and subtracting unlike fraction notes. So let's go ahead and get into it. Make sure your names are at the top of your paper. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting unlike fraction notes. So what we're doing today is very similar to what we had done a few days ago. The only difference here is that our denominators are going to be different from one another. So we're going to look to see how we solve those type of problems. So let's start off with our objective. What is it that we want to achieve by the end of today? We want to be able to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators. So if you have your highlighter, please highlight the following. Add and subtract unlike denominators. Now, unlike means different. So when we're talking about unlike, we're really just referring to like different denominators. The next thing we want to talk about is building on the essential question. So at the end of the lesson, students being you, should be able to answer, how does adding unlike fractions compare to adding like fractions? So let's highlight that. How does adding unlike fractions compare to adding like fractions? So based off of this, we can say that they're very similar. So I have an example to show you. Hopefully you guys can see this. So kind of random. I have these like two random bears. One of them on the right, his name is Barry, and the one on the left, his name is the Loaf. If you look at them carefully, he looks a little bit weird. The guy on the left, he's actually a bear. And this guy on the right, he's actually a bear too. Now, there's only one thing that they have in common. They're both bears, but they're not the same type of bear. They're slightly different. The one on the right is a little bit dopier looking, and the one on the left is a little bit more like, I don't know, it looks like a loaf of bread. So although they're similar, like the fact that they're both bears, they're actually different in the sense like their breeds are different. So they're friends. So we want to that's the whole goal of today. Let's go ahead and get started. So to add or subtract fractions with different denominators, we need to follow a total of 3 steps. The first step is to rename the fractions using the least common denominator, otherwise known as the LCD. Number 2, we need to, as with like fractions. So we have to add or subtract similar to like fractions. And number 3, if necessary, we need to simplify the sum or difference. Okay? Now these steps only work if we have different denominators. If we have the same denominators, and we don't have to follow all of these steps in order, but because we are working with different denominators, we have to make sure we follow these 3 steps. And I'm going to reiterate this multiple times. Do not skip any steps when you're doing these problems. I repeat, do not skip any steps as you're going through these problems. Even if you think you might know the answer, do not skip the steps, because if you do, you're going to make a mistake and you're not going to know where the problem is. So just a little heads up. Let's continue. Before you can add 2 unlike fractions, or fractions with different denominators, rename one or both of the fractions so that they have a common denominator. So before you can start adding any unlike fractions, you have to make sure that both your denominators look the same. So going back to my little bear example here, okay? We got 2 bears here. They are not the same. Although they're friends, we can't actually add them both together because they are different. See you later, guys. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start the problem together. So problem number 1. Find what 1/2 plus 1/4 is. So the first thing we want to ask ourselves are the fractions like or are they unlike fractions, and explain. Well, if I look at the denominators, I notice that they are both different. 2 and 4 are different. So I'm going to say that they both are unlike and that the denominators are different. So we want to ask ourselves this for every single fraction problem. All right. The second question is, what do you need to do before you can add fractions with unlike denominators? The answer is simple. We need to be able to rewrite each fraction using the LCD, or otherwise known as the least common denominator. So going back to this problem, most of us probably already know, oh, the LCD is 4. 2 can go into 4 twice. 4 times 1 is 4. However, I don't care even if you know what the LCD is. I want to see all of your steps and all of your work. So for every problem that requires us to find the LCD, we're going to write LCD, and then we're going to find the common multiples of both 2 and 4 to figure out what our least common denominator is. So we'll start with 2. 2 and colon. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and we'll stop there. For 4, 4 times 1 is 4. Now this is a simple problem because we can figure out that that the least common denominator is 4. So what we want to do is rewrite the problem again. 1/2 times 1, 2 times 2. Now what you do to the bottom, you also do to the top. So we're going to multiply 2 times 2 and 2 times 1 plus 1/4 times 1 times 1. Why? Because the common multiple of 4 times 1 is 4, so we're going to multiply by 1. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 times 1 is 1, 4 times 1 is 4. Now this problem becomes exactly what we have been doing the past couple of days. We have common denominators, which means all we have to do is add the numerators. 2 plus 1 is 3, 3/4. Now, going back to this question here, we didn't answer it yet, but this might make more sense now. Why does multiplying the numerator and denominator by the same number result in an equivalent fraction? Well, it's simple. When you multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, you're multiplying basically by 1. So we're going to write that there. All right, perfect. So we have 2 questions here. Actually, we have 4 questions under the got it. I want you to be able to do these problems to find out how much you understand what we just covered. So the directions, add and write in simplest form. So I'd like for you to do letter A, letter B, and on the next page, letter C and letter D. I want you to try to do those 4 problems by yourself. So at this point, please pause the video, complete the 4 problems independently, and when you're done, go back and pause or press play and hear the solutions that I came up with. Now remember, when you do these problems, please make sure that you are showing all of your work, the problem is, or how well you think you know the problem. Please show all your work like I had shown earlier. The more work you show, the less mistakes you'll make. So please, at this point, pause the video. All right, hopefully you should have paused the video. So we're going to go ahead and go through a complete solution set for all 4 of these problems. So the first problem we want to look at is 1/6. So the first thing I noticed, 6 and 3 are both, they have do not have common denominators, which means I have to find a least common denominator. So to do that, I have to find the LCD of both 6 and 3. 6 times 1 is 6. For 3, 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. There we go. The least common denominator in this problem is 6. Therefore, I rewrite the fractions as 1 over 6 times 1. 6 times 1 plus 2/3 times 2 times 2 to get the common denominator. 1/6 plus 4 over 6. Now, I can go ahead and add both the numerators together. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 over 6. That answer is as simplified as it can get. Therefore, 5 over 6 is our final answer. Now notice, even though this problem is relatively simple, I still showed all my work. As we do more difficult problems, you're gonna be happy that I showed you, right, Barry? Yep. Okay, that was weird. Letter B, 9 over 10 plus negative half, 1/2. So once again, I have different denominators, which means I have to find the LCD first. Let's find the LCD of 10 and 2. 10 times 1 is 10. Well, let's see what 2 gives us. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Bingo! LCDs are 10 and 10. All right, let's go ahead and rewrite our fractions to reflect the least common denominator. 9 over 10 times 1 plus negative 1/2 times 5 times 5 equals 9 over 10 plus negative 5 over 10. All right, now that I have common denominators, I look at the numerators and I add them together. But I do notice I have a negative sign here. So just like integer addition rules, we follow the same rules. Different signs, we subtract and we take the sign with the number that's furthest away from 0. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 is further away from 0 than 5, therefore we use a positive 4 over 10. However, we are not done. The problem is not simplified. Therefore, I have to simplify this problem as far as it can go. 4 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 gives us 2 over 5. Our final answer is 2 over 5. And yes, I know you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of work I have to show. Yeah, it is a lot of work, but I guarantee you, if you show all your work here, you're going to make less mistakes and you're going to get higher scores than people that do not show the work. Trust me on that one. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next page to check your work. All right, so we have 2 problems here. We have C and we have D. So let's start with C first. We notice that we have different denominators, which means I have to find my LCD. My LCD of 4. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. For 8, a common multiple is 8 times 1 is 8. All right, there we go. There's our LCD. It's 8. So let's rewrite the fractions. We have 1/4 times 2 plus 3/8 times 1 equals 2 over 8 plus 4 over 8. Now I have common denominators, which means I can add the numerators together to get 6 over 8. Oh, I apologize. Going back. Sorry. 3 times 1 is 3, not 4. Erase that. Sorry about that. Writing it again. 2 plus 3 gives us 5/8, which happens to be our final answer. All right. Let's do letter D, last one. Negative 1/3 plus negative 1/4. I notice I have different denominators, which means I have to find my LCD. LCD. All right. Common multiples of 3 include 3, 6, 9, and 12. Common multiples of 4 include 4, 8, and 12. Jackpot. 12 and 12. That's our LCD. Let's rewrite the fractions. Negative 1/3 times 4 times 4 plus negative 1/4 times 3 times 3 equals negative 4/12 plus negative 3/12. All right, I have same signs, or I'm sorry, I have common denominators, which means I can add the two numerators together. Now, for those of you who are still struggling with integer addition rules, my recommendation is to go online and to watch a review video online, either through Khan Academy or YouTube. Just type in adding integers, and you'll find a lot of tutorial videos there that will hopefully help you to remember these rules. But if you don't have time for that now, let's do a quick review. So we have addition here. We have same signs, which means we add and keep. So we get 7, negative 7 over 12. And that's our final answer. Now notice there's like a little green mark right here. What the green mark tells us is that now we're going to go ahead and do a quick 1-minute note on our index card, just summarizing what we have learned up to this point. Now, please try not to use your notes to answer that question. Okay, so you're going to have 1 minute to summarize as much as you can about what you've learned in your own words. So please do not take off your headphones and do not pause the video. I'm going to say start writing, and you're going to have 1 minute to write. So write as much as you can. When I say stop writing, you stop. Ready? Begin writing. As you're summarizing, please make sure you are writing in your own words. Try your best to summarize what you've learned up until this point. It could be anything. 30 more seconds. Ten more seconds. And time. Hopefully you wrote down as much as you could on your index card for 1 minute. Now that you have done that, go ahead and continue. Let's continue with this video. So we're about halfway done with our notes. Let's do the next problem together. Now, if you look at this problem, it looks tricky. There's 3 fractions you're adding together, and there's a set of parentheses. Okay, it looks scary. It's not that, trust me. I mean, it might be kind of hard for him. He doesn't really have arms and stuff, so I guess holding the pencil might be hard for him. But besides him, he's kind of disadvantaged, so we won't worry about him for now. Just worry about yourselves, right? So we have 3 fractions. Okay, we're adding them all up. Okay, the first thing we notice is that we have 2 fractions that have common denominators, and we have 1 that doesn't. So we want to make our lives as simple as possible. Okay, so the first question is, what do the parentheses indicate? Well, they indicate that we add those fractions first. Okay. The second question is, what fractions are like fractions? Well, according to this, negative 3/4 and 7/4 are both like fractions. Um, However, they're not next to each other. So here's what I want to do. I'm actually going to kind of move some of these fractions around. I'm going to move them around so that I can get negative 3/4 and 7/4 next to each other. And I'm also going to move and just shift over the parentheses to make this problem easier for us to complete. So let's switch negative 3/4 and 5/9 around. So we're going to put 5/9 plus negative 3/4 plus 7/4. All right, now that I've switched these two fractions around, I can then shift these parentheses over to make negative 3/4 plus 7/4 happen. So we write this as 5/9 plus negative 3/4 plus 7/4. See what I did here? Now I have common denominators. Now I can go ahead and add up or find what negative 3 plus 7 ends up equaling to. So according to this, it says, what is the sum of negative 3/4 plus 7/4? Well, integer addition rules. Different signs subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4. 7 is further away from 0 than negative 3, therefore it stays positive. 4 over 4 is whole. So, rewriting this, we say 5 over 9 plus 1. To make it more simple, we say 1 is our whole number and 5/9 is our fraction. That's our final answer. So, for the next two problems under Got It, you're going to do these two problems to find out if you really understand what we just did. Now, all the steps that we just covered here, please follow the same steps. E and F are the same thing. If you follow these steps here and don't skip any steps, you're going to get the right answer. So please, at this point, pause the video. And if you are stuck or once you're done, you can press play and you can check your answers out. Please pause the video now. Alright, now that you paused the video and you're super curious to figure out if you got the right answer, let's see if you did. 4/7 plus. So we notice that we have two fractions that have common denominators, which are 2/5 and 3/5. So let's try to get those two fractions together. So first, let's switch 4/7 and 3/5 around. Alright, next, let's shift the parentheses over to make 2/5 and 3/5 happen. 2/5 plus 3/5 plus 4/7. Alright, now that I have two common denominators here, I can add up the numerators. 2 plus 3 gives us 5 over 5 plus 4 over 7. Let's finish this off. 5 divided by 5 gives us 1 plus 4 over 7 is the same thing as saying 1 and 4/7. And that's our final answer. Now, letter F, if you were solving that one, this one, you notice there's a lot of blank space here. That's because this problem is a very, very lengthy problem. It's not difficult, but there is a lot of work required to get the right answer. So, let's look at the denominators. We have 10, we have 8, and we have 10. So our goal is to get the 10s next to each other. So, let's move 5/8 and negative 3/10 around. So we're going to say 5/8 plus negative 3/10 plus 23 over 10. Now let's shift the parentheses over to make them wrap around negative 3/10 and 23 over 10. Alright, I notice that I have common denominators here, which means I can add out the numerators. Negative 3 plus 23. I notice that I have integer addition. 23 minus 3 gives me 20. 20 is further away from 0 than negative 3, therefore it stays as a positive 20. So we write this as 5/8 plus positive 20 over 10. Alright, so I'm going to draw a little arrow down here to show that I'm shifting my work down here. Alright, so I have different denominators, which means I have to find my LCD. So I'm going to write this as LCD. We have 8. So some common multiples of 8 include 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. Common multiples of 10 include 10, 20, 30, and 40. There you go. Our LCD is 40. Now that we know our LCD is 40, we're going to go ahead and rewrite these fractions to accommodate that. So we're going to write this as 5/8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 5. 5 times, let's make that an addition sign. Okay. Plus 20/10, 1, 2, 3, 4 times 4 times 4. 5 times 5 is 25. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 20 times 4 is 80. 10 times 4 is 40. Same denominators, which means I can add the numerators. 25 plus 80 gives me 105 over 40. Now, for now, I know I've been asking you guys to convert the improper fraction to a mixed number. For now, let's just keep it as an improper fraction. I'm not going to penalize you if you don't have it set up. If you want to convert it to a mixed number, fine, go for it. If you want to just keep it as an improper fraction, for now, keep it as an improper fraction. But if you did simplify it, if you did change it to a mixed number and you simplified it, you would have gotten 2 and 5/8. So either way would have been okay. All right, little green symbol means I want you guys to go back to this card and continue writing as much as you can, summarizing what you just learned from your last summarization until now. So keep your headphones on. You have 1 minute. Begin writing now. And as you summarize, please make sure that you are just summarizing it in your own words. There's no right or wrong answer. Even if it's not correct, I just really want you guys to see what you think you've learned, or what are some tips that maybe this video is helping you with up to this point. "25 more seconds. "10 more seconds. And time. All right, let's continue. So now that we've been just focusing on addition, let's move on to subtraction. So number 3, find what negative 2/3 minus 1/2 means, or is. So the first question we want to look at, of course, is, are these fractions like fractions? Explain. Well, the answer is simple no. The denominators are different. 3 and 2 are different. Just like berry and just like loaf, right? Bye-bye. So no, the denominators are different. So the question is 3 and 2. The answer is 6. How did I get that? Well, just like before, we find the LCD of both 3 and 2. Common multiple of 3 includes 3 and 6. Common multiples of 2 include 2, 4, and 6. My LCD is, in fact, 6. So what do I need to do before I can subtract unlike fractions? And just like before, the answer is to rewrite each fraction using the LCD. All right, so let's go ahead and here, and we're going to write negative 2 over 3 times 2 times 2 minus 1 over 2 times 3 times 3. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 over 6 minus 3 over 6. Now, I have a subtraction problem here. Now, I don't like subtraction, right? So we want to change the subtraction problem to an addition problem by adding the opposite. So to rewrite the expression for the sum of the numerators using the additive inverse. So additive inverse means to add the opposite. So if I have negative 4 minus 3, I add the opposite by changing subtraction to addition and taking the opposite of positive 3 and making it negative 3. So that's rewriting it using the additive inverse. So going back here, I can say that negative 4 over 6 plus negative 3 over 6 is me rewriting this problem using the additive inverse. So once again, subtraction becomes addition and positive 3 becomes negative 3. I notice that I have the same denominator now, which means I can add the numerators. Negative 4 plus negative 3, same sign, add and keep. Negative 7 over 6 is my final answer. All right, now that we did that problem there, I want you guys on the next page to do questions G, H, and I by yourselves. You're going to subtract and write in simplest form. So please pause this video and complete the next 3 problems on your own. Or if you get really stuck, you can look to see what my solution is, and hopefully my solution will make sense and you can write that down. So please pause the video now and begin working. Alright, now that you paused the video, let's go over these 3 problems. So letter G, 5/8 minus 1/4. So I notice that I have different denominators, which means I have to find the LCD of both 8 and 4. So LCD of 8, 8 times 1 is 8, of 4, we have 4 and we have 8, our LCD is 8. So I rewrite my fractions as 5 over 8 times 1 minus 1 over 4 times 2 times 2. We have 5/8 minus 2 over 8. All right, so just to make the problem easier, since 5 is bigger than 2, 5 minus 2, let's just subtract it like we normally would with just 2 integers. 5 minus 3 gives me 3, and that's 3/8. Final answer. Okay. Now I can add the opposite if I want here. You'll still get 3/8, but since I know that 5 minus 2 is 3, I can just write it like that. Letter H. 3/4 minus 1/3. I notice I have different denominators, so let's find the LCD. LCD of 4, we have 4 times 1 is 4, we have 8, we have 12. Let's stop there. Let's go with 3. 3 times 1 is 3, and 6, and 9, and 12. My LCD is 12. So let's rewrite the fractions. We have 3 over 4 times 3 times 3 minus 1 over 3 times 4 times 4 equals 9 over 12 plus negative 4 over 12. I have common denominators, which means I can add the numerators together. Oh, integer addition rules. 9 plus negative 4. Different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the number that is furthest away from 0, which is 9. That's a positive 5 over 12. 5/12 is simplified as far as it can go. Therefore, that's my final answer. And letter I. 1/2 minus negative 2/5. Different denominators. Let's find the LCD. So, common multiples of 2 include 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Common multiples of 5 include 5 and 10. My LCD is in fact 10. Now let's rewrite the fractions. 1/2 times 5 times 5 minus negative 2/5 times 2 and times 2. Now just to let you guys know I've said it a million times already so far, but please show all your work, okay? I know some of you are like, oh, I know how to do this in my head and this and that. Okay, I really want to see all the work, just like I'm showing here, okay? All right, let's continue. 5 over 10 minus, oops, I forgot a negative sign over here. This is negative 4 over, because fraction, I need to add the opposite. 5 can stay the same. Let me change this subtraction problem to an addition problem by adding the opposite. Subtraction turns to addition. The opposite of negative 4 is positive 4 over 10. Same denominators, which means I can add the numerators together. 5 plus 4 is 9 over, and that's my final answer, 9 over 10. All right, go ahead and take, oh, there's that symbol again. Go ahead and take another minute to summarize as much as you can on your index card in your own words without looking at your notes. Now, if you're absolutely super stuck, you can look back at your notes to see what you learned from the last summarization to now. But for now, just try to summarize in your own words. Take 1 minute starting now. Twenty more seconds. All right, so we're almost done, guys. These last two problems are not too bad. And I don't think they're as complicated as what we've been doing, so hopefully this should be relatively quick. So number 4, we have this table. It's talking about blood types, type A, type B. So it says use the table to find the fraction of the total population that has a type A or type B blood. Okay, so we have blood type frequencies. We have O, we have A, we have B, and we have A over B. So we have some extra information. Is it asking us to find the blood type or of the fraction of the total population for both AO and AB? The answer is no. So the only types that we need are type A and type B. So those two fractions are the fractions that we need. So let's write them down here. We have 21 over 50 plus 1 over 10. Now the question is, how do I know whether to add or to subtract? Well, there's some key words. There's a key word in here that tells us we need to add. Ask us to find the total. Total means addition and add. So 21 over 50 plus 110. Oh, I notice I have denominators, which means I have to find my LCD. All right, common multiples of 50 include 50, and we'll stop there for now. How about 10? 10 times 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. There you go, my LCD is 50. So let's rewrite these fractions as 21 over 50 times 1 plus 1 over 10 times 5 times 5. This gives us 21 over 50 plus 5 over 50 All right, I have common denominators of 50 and 50, which means I can add my numerators together. 21 plus 5 gives me 26 over 50. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to do is I want to simplify this fraction further. So there's a common number that can go into both 26 and 50, and that is 2. 26 divided by 2 gives me 13. 50 divided by 2 gives me 25. So my final answer is 13 out of 25 is my final answer. So I can say 13 over 25 of the population has type A or type B blood. All right. Now that we did this problem, I want you to go ahead and solve the next problem by yourself. Please pause this video now. All right, now that you paused the video, let's go ahead and answer this together. In one town, 3/20ths of the adopted dogs are German Shepherds, 7/25ths are Golden Retrievers, and 2/5 are mixed breeds. Find the fraction of the adopted dogs that are either Golden Retrievers or mixed breeds. So once again, there's extra information here that we don't need. All it's asking us to do is to find the fraction of adopted dogs that are either Golden Retrievers or mixed breeds. So since it can be either breed, we want to add. So we're going to take 7/25ths, because that's for Golden Retrievers, and we're going to add 2/5, which are the mixed breeds, which is what they're asking us to find here. I notice that I have denominators, so let's find the LCD of both 25 and 5. LCD, 25 times 20, 25 times 1 is 25. Common multiples of 5 include 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. Okay, let's rewrite these fractions. 7 over 25 times 1 plus 2/5 times 5 times 5. 7 over 25 plus 10 over 25. 7 plus 10, 17, and 25 stays denominator. That's as simplified as it can get, so I'm going to rewrite this answer, this question, with my answer. So 7 out of 25 of adopted dogs are Golden Retrievers or mixed breeds. So 17 out of 25 of the adopted dogs are Golden Retrievers or mixed breeds. All right, so that's pretty much it. I know it was a lot. Adding and subtracting, unlike fractions, is something that many students struggle with. I'm not expecting you to be experts at the end of today, but hopefully this video and these notes hopefully helped your understanding of a little bit more. We'll be practicing a lot more soon. So thanks for listening, and hopefully this video was helpful. Bye.